What's up, sports fans? I'm KC James with this NBA playoff special report brought to you by Sprint. Cut your cell phone bill in half. And you know how I do it. I give you the 411 and I keep it real. And if you don't know, you better ask somebody. Well, the NBA playoffs first round are all in the books. We'll break down all the action in the Eastern and Western Conference and get you all set for the second round matchups. We'll start in the Eastern Conference, where the Cavs swept the Celtics, but it was a costly sweep as that shoulder injury to Kevin Love on that very questionable play with Kelly Olynyk out for the rest of the playoffs, in fact, out for 4 to 6 months, and that's a huge blow to the Cavs' hopes of winning the East and even going on to win an NBA title. Add that to the fact that they'll be without J.R. Smith in the first 2 games of their second round matchup because he threw that backhanded punch to Jay Crowder of the Celtics, so he's suspended. So you're without Kevin Love and all the playoffs and J.R. Smith in the first 2 games of the next round. Kyrie Irving and LeBron James and the rest of those Cavaliers are going to have to really step up to try and make up for those losses. In the other series, of course, in the Eastern Conference, it was Washington sweeping Toronto in a surprise. I thought that would be a very, very tough series. A series that would go 6 or 7 games. But Washington, who didn't play well at the regular season, wins the first 2 games in Toronto, goes home and handles their business. And Toronto, basically, hello, Raptors, did you know it was the playoffs? Because they never showed up at all. And their performance in that series could cost head coach Dwayne Casey his job. It was Atlanta beating Brooklyn 4-2. No surprise there. Atlanta was the best team in the East all season. Brooklyn barely slipped into the playoffs on the final day. And Chicago 4-2 over Milwaukee. After the Bulls won the first 3 games, Milwaukee showed some signs of life, winning the next 2. And then the Bulls, in a beatdown of biblical proportions, in a closeout game, won by 54 points, beating Milwaukee and knocking them out and moving on to the second round. In the Western Conference is the Warriors. Yeah, those Warriors, these aren't your father's Warriors. I've said it all over that this is the best team in the association, and they proved it. Like I said, they swept New Orleans, and after that Game 3, when they made a spectacular comeback, it was good night, Irene. New Orleans had nothing left in the tank. Steph Curry was the freak that we all know he is. He was spectacular. He was ridiculous, and the Warriors were just too good as they win that series 4-0. It was Memphis beating Portland, a beat-up Portland team, 4-1. It was Houston with Fear the Beard and the guy who will win the MVP, James Harden, getting it done finally in the playoffs, beating Dallas 4-1, and then in a series for the ages. Maybe the best first-round series ever in the association. It was drama all over the place. It was the true definition of 2 teams that didn't deserve to lose. Both teams gave it everything they had. Both teams left it all on the court. Both teams did what you would expect a team to do trying to win in the playoffs, but it was the Clippers. Yeah, those Clippers beating the defending champion San Antonio Spurs 4-3 in spectacular fashion, dramatic fashion in Game 7 when Chris Paul hit that runner high off the glass over future Hall of Famer Tim Duncan to send the Clippers on in a defining moment for that franchise dating all the way back to when they were the Buffalo Braves. Wow, what a series. I'm still excited about what I saw on Saturday, the Clippers and the Spurs. I mean, that was 2 heavyweights trying to knock each other out. In fact, it was a better fight than Mayweather-Pacquiao, that's for sure. I mean, they went mano a mano. They went after each other. The Spurs winning 2 games in L.A. The Clippers winning 2 games in San Antonio, and then coming down to a dramatic 7th game. Blake Griffin, was huge in that series. He got a triple-double in Game 7. He was an absolute beast. He had 24, 14, and 10 in Game 7. Matt Barnes stepped up, had 17. Jamal Crawford, 16 off the bench. J.J. Redick. It was DeAndre Jordan doing what he does inside. Big baby Glenn Davis came in with that sprained ankle and manned up. But how about CP3? Yeah, how about Chris Paul? Yeah, 27 and 6, but that's not the game-winning shot. But that's not the story. He hurts his hamstring in the first quarter of Game 7, has to come out. You visibly saw how much discomfort he was in, how much pain he was in. He came back in, and he was out there on one leg, and he got it done. He dug deep down inside and exorcised all the demons. Yeah, all the people that have been drinking the Chris Paul haterade, put it up. You need to recognize that Chris Paul has been the best point guard in the league for a decade, and he is still today the best two-way guard in the league, and he exercised those demons about not being able to win and close out games, and he can't get it done in the clutch, under pressure, blah, blah, blah. He's not this, he's not that. He went out there and got it done in the most crucial situation with his back up against the wall, with everything against him. He had the weight of not only the entire Clipper franchise on his shoulder, the weight of all the basketball critics on his shoulders too. And as I said, he got it done in a big way out there. He was struggling. You saw he physically couldn't do what he would normally do, but he got it done, knocking down jumpers, doing what he could defensively. And then that final play, unlike game 2 when he took a jump shot over Tim Duncan, this time took it as far as he could go, had to adjust the shot because Duncan was right there on him, kissed it high off the window. It dropped through 1 second left. Spurs tried to get a lob to the basket. Clippers knocked it away. End of story. Game over. Series over. Good night, Irene. The Clippers' reputation was on the line, and they at least quieted the critics for now, because they got a short turnaround, and they got to go against, of course, the Houston Rockets and James Harden, Fear the Beard. That team is healthy. Dwight Howard playing well now. That is going to be a tremendous series, too. But hats off to the Clippers for what they did, because nobody thought they could do it. I, for one, picked the Spurs to win the series, and I'll be the first to say I was wrong. Mad love to CP3. He was like a machine. He was like a cyborg out there, because you knew he was hurting. You knew he could barely get out there and do what he wanted to do, but it was mind over matter. He didn't mind, so it didn't matter. And the Clippers won it, 111, 109 to move on. And now, is that it for the Spurs run? I think so. Will all of the big three be back intact? Maybe not. You got Ginobili, a free agent. Tim Duncan could retire. Will Popovich come back if Duncan retires? Tony Parker's under contract, but he's not the same player he was. So that Spurs run, which has been an incredible run over the last 17 years and 5 championships, but this team may be at the end of the road finally. And like I said about the Spurs all along, they will not die. You got to kill them. And the Clippers killed them on Saturday night in spectacular fashion. So now we look at the matchups in the second round. You got Cleveland and Chicago. I have to take Chicago in that series because Cleveland is shorthanded. Washington and Atlanta. I like Atlanta in a tough, tight 7-game series. And in the Western Conference, the Warriors against Memphis. Mike Conley injured for Memphis with that facial injury. Will not play in game 1. We'll see about game 2. But the Warriors are too good, got too much. They'll win that series. And the Clippers and the Rockets. The Clippers, after what they just did against the Spurs, it is hard to pick against them now. I know the Rockets got Dwight Howard and James Harden, but I picked against the Clippers one time. I'm not doing it again. I'm taking them in this series against the Rockets if Chris Paul can get back and be healthy. And that's an asterisk I have to put on that, because that hamstring injury could be a lingering one. It can hurt him going to the next series. He got through that game, but could he get through a series against the Rockets? That will remain to be seen. If CP3 cannot be CP3, I will put an asterisk on that pick, because if he's not healthy, they can't beat the Rockets. But if he can get it done and can be the Chris Paul we expect, I think they could beat the Rockets. So that's the only series that I have to leave up in the air. But the rest, I know what I know, and I like what I like. Well, I'm KC James, and that's it for this edition of the NBA Playoff Special Report. As you see, I'm excited, and you know how I do it. I give you the 411, and I keep it real. And if you don't know, you better ask somebody. I'll see you next time right here on the NBA Report.